To me, it was delightful. Honest to goodness village. There were brick walks that the Village Improvement Society built. Then they had oil lamps on the streets. Nearly everybody in town had half to 1 acre of ground. It was just a delightful atmosphere. I still can't get over it. I still say, I'm going to the village. Everyone in Falls Church used to have a front porch. I would love to just sit on my front porch watching the world go by, or just being still.
Hi, I'm Mark Coupard with Hemphill & Coupard Architects and Builders. We've been talking over the past year or so about front porches and a lot of the history within Falls Church of the porches, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the future of porches in the Falls Church.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I'm here with Dave Eckert, and today we're addressing a couple of things. We're talking about the front porches of houses, as well as addressing one of the main complaints we've had here at Going to the Village, and that is not enough Dave Eckert.
I haven't heard that. That's not what
Maybe you
I've
won't
heard.
either, but we're talking about your front porch.
Well, this
today.
old stoop
This old stoop.
is, I have a situation here where I have some dying spruce trees that are on their way out and some yew bushes that are on their way out. And after seeing you on the show all this time, sitting on front porches, I decided, he talked me into it, I want a front porch.
Okay.
So I just have this old stoop that I've let run down. It's got all kinds of problems, and it's time to boogie on it. So what do I do?
Well, if you're going to do one in the City of Falls Church, you've got to maybe check with the zoning department first. By right, you're allowed to, in the last couple of years, they passed an ordinance that allows you, just about anybody, it's very front porch friendly. Which,
We call it the Brangman Law.
and that's pretty well made. By right, you can have a 6-foot deep front porch over the entire front of your house, regardless of how close you are to the street or far away you are from the street.
Oh, so I can't have an 8-foot?
Well, perhaps you can. That's where you would want to check with the zoning department to see exactly how far your current properties go in there armed with a plat of your property and say and they'll determine exactly how far you are allowed to come.
Okay.
And if you have a great idea, you can always go before the Board of Zoning Appeals and try and get a variance.
Okay. So Mark, even if we weren't in Falls Church, if we're in Fairfax County or some other jurisdiction, we'd still have to go probably to the look at zoning and say, what can I do? You know, so I'm not, you know, the setbacks. I think pretty much everybody has setback requirements, don't they?
Certainly. You're going to want to find out what your rules are, and then maybe by going in there, you can find out how much flexibility there is within those rules.
So I just can't go out with my hammer and my pick and everything and start building a front porch.
You can, but somebody's probably going to stop you.
Okay, I promise I won't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I go up there, and what kind of questions do I ask them?
Well, if you don't have your plat, perhaps they have a copy of it.
Okay.
But you'd like to have your plat, which shows your house on the property, and you ask them how far it needs to be from the front. If you're going to extend the entire width of the house, the side yard setbacks may come into play as well.
Oh, they would here. This is 50 feet wide. That's all this lot is, so that's a problem.
So yeah, generally they'll give you basically on a footprint that you
Okay.
are allowed to build to, and from there you want to then determine a good porch for the house that you have.
Okay, now I have very strange ideas on what I want for a front porch. So are there any restrictions on the strangeness of my ideas? Or do they just say it can be this size and that's it?
Well, no. The size, regardless of your tastes, is more or less set. Although you may find that the more attractive your porch design, at least is to the people on whatever board you are, the more likely they are to give you some leeway in terms of a variance. So if you go forward with a very nice composed drawing that shows the front porch, and explain exactly what you want, they're more likely to understand.
So do I draw it on charcoal, or do I hire an architect and have them lay out the plan? How do I do that?
Well, oddly enough, I believe in the value of an architect, and I think that you in talking with one and using their experience and their knowledge of building types and just general composition, you can at least at the first level, come up with a sketch that
Okay.
can help get your point across to a Board of Zoning Appeals or a code official.
Okay. So what are the parts of a porch that I have to be considering now? Say I'm going to say, okay, I want a porch. What do I have to think about?
Well, you're going to want to think about what you want it to do. And you have a porch now that covers your guests, which is a very important function as they knock on your door and wait for you to come. If it's raining,
I'm very slow at coming to the door too.
well, then they'll be glad that you have this coverage. But as a lot of the porches we've looked at have, there's opportunity for it being a place to sit.
Okay, well, I
And
definitely want that on both sides here. So do I start with the foundation? Is that what I start with? Like what kind of foundation I
Well,
want?
when you
or-
actually build it, yeah, that's a good part of it. For instance, here you could either build over top of what you have, in which
Mm-hmm.
case you'd want something rather solid to conceal this,
Yes.
or you could basically you could tear it down and start over.
Oh, so I could leave this here and then. That's a good idea.
It's
Okay.
down far enough from your front door,
Okay.
from the stoop, that
Okay.
that's a possibility.
Great. Okay. Does this porch have to be solid underneath, or can be sort of just a foundation on the outside with hollow underneath? Does it matter?
A lot of the ones we've looked at and that we build these days have the occasional pier that holds up, and then we span it with wood out to the
Okay, so it's not
pier.
solid underneath.
Right, and it's a
then.
wood
Good.
floor or some other
Okay.
material.
Okay. So now on the beams and stuff like that, what kind of materials do you use?
Well, a lot of it depends on what the look you're going after.
Okay.
Alrighty. It's very traditional materials or wood that's painted for
Okay.
in this area, but you've got tons of. You
Okay.
could do metal. You could do a lot of materials.
Okay, the reason I asked is I've heard that there is sometimes a maintenance problems on porches because they're exposed to the elements. You have to be a little careful on what materials you choose.
Sure.
I've seen a couple of them recently, some actually new buildings, which only within 3 to 5 years after some of the wood has started to rot.
Particularly the steps. I've seen that too.
That's where I've just been seeing them. Yeah, and so. So maybe I don't want wooden
That
steps.
might lead you toward masonry steps or concrete steps as opposed to wood steps.
Okay. Well, what I want, and this is very strange, I want to have some rock. You were the architect for the Tinner Hill Monument, and I was so impressed with that and working with the stonemasons there that I want rock.
It's a wonderful permanent feel. I agree.
And with James Ware and Roy Morgan, I want to call them and see if they can lay some rock. I've been collecting rock. I decided I want quartz, and people have been giving me quartz. If anybody has any white quartz you want to give me, I want it for this porch. So, do you think that'll be a problem to do stonework?
It's really a matter of taste. I mean,
Okay.
what stone
I have
does.
bad taste. I have bad taste.
What stone does is provide a very sturdy foundation
Okay.
that everybody visually thinks, wow, that's well grounded.
Okay.
But you want to look at how that works with the house that you have.
Right,
and
well,
perhaps
my
it's
house makes no
compatible, or
sense.
Perhaps it's not.
Yeah, my house makes no sense. It's painted over brick on the first floor, and second floor is 1949 asbestos siding. Everybody's favorite. So I have to do something with that. And then, so anyway, the other thing is the roof. And I want to have a green roof. We've seen pictures of that. And we filmed some of this that we can show the audience right now that they're using over in Germany. And do you think I'll have any problems with the zoning officials on
As
that?
long as you have a structure that the only problem with doing something that's out of the ordinary is that you've got to explain it more thoroughly
Okay.
not to the code officials, but to the actual building
Inspectors?
right?
Okay.
For the
Okay.
permit. So
Okay.
as long as you explain how it's irrigated, how it's supported, what it actually weighs, they don't have any chart that shows you how
Okay.
much a sod roof weighs.
Okay.
You've
Okay.
you shouldn't have a real
Good.
problem.
Well, maybe in a year we can do this again and we can start seeing how this old stoop turns into this old porch. What do you think?
That'd be fun.
Good.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
Thanks, Mark.
All right.
Nearly every street in Falls Church was arched over with trees. You walked under a bower. That's what made Falls Church so attractive.
Well, hey, Barbara, how you doing?
Great, thanks.
It's a great day, isn't it?
I love the rain.
It's May in the city of Falls Church with a lot of rain. It's been thundering. Hopefully we get some good sounds out of this. And in back of us we have, what do we have?
We have yellowwood, Cladrastis lutea.
Cladrastis lutea.
I thought it would be a good first name for a boy, but Buck, I think, prefers his name.
Like, hey, class, how you doing? Class. Okay. Well, this is an interesting tree, and we're viewing it right now in the darkness of the rain and the clouds and everything. But the audience here is going to be seeing a lot of shots we took on a sunny day in May when the Cladrastis lutea, or the yellowwood, is in full bloom in the sun. So they're going to see a lot of shots that don't look like today. But tell me what you know about the yellowwood.
Well, the yellowwood is native, and it's a beautiful tree because the canopy of it is so broad, and it's as broad as it is tall, much like a lot of people these days.
Oh.
But what's wonderful about them is that about every 2 or 3 years, they really have a much better bloom, and this year I think was exceptional. I know that I have one that the racemes are anywhere from 8 to 12 inches long, and each of those little white flowers is about an inch. And the fragrance is really wonderful. It's sort of a mix of lots of different spring flowers, but it definitely smells like a spring flower. It's not overpowering.
Yeah, that's a good word. It's not overpower phrase, because it isn't a real strong, but when you put your nose near it, it's just wonderful.
Yeah, it's almost like some tropical gardenia mixed with, it just is really a nice fragrance. But the beauty of it is when the flowers fall like that in such profusion, it almost looks like a wisteria or something.
Right. In fact, isn't it distantly related to the locust? And
Yes.
locust has one of the greatest flowers. A lot of people don't like that tree, but the flower is overwhelming.
Right.
Now, you said something about the flower about every 3 years, and I've been a little confused on that. Does that mean that all the fringe trees come out every 3 years together?
You mean the yellowwood?
I mean, yes. Yellowwood, thank you. I get them mixed up.
Right.
All the yellowwoods come out at once? I mean, like every yellowwood will on every third year, or is on
No.
1 year one yellowwood? And,
Right.
Well, and over in Cavalier Park, we have a beautiful yellowwood that's in full bloom right now, and the one next to it has about 3 clusters of flowers on the whole tree, and yet that's fully leafed out. And
Right.
It's a really interesting paradox.
Right, it is. And I've noticed that this tree that I have, it doesn't really flower in profusion that frequently. So maybe every 3rd to 5th year. It isn't anything you can time. It's just something, it's like when oaks have a lot of drought and stress, they'll produce more acorns.
Okay.
I don't know if it's related to that or not.
Okay, well, you know, like we're right in front of the community center.
Right.
And looking across from the community center at the Veterans Memorial. And
Right.
that beautiful yellowwood was planted right next to the Veterans Memorial there, the plaque. And so if people only rely on this one, they'll say, oh, it's not blooming much.
Right.
But if they go down to Cavalier Park, where you suggested we planted yellowwoods back in 1992, we planted a couple of groves of them. And they're, you know, a couple of them are looking really good now. And you can see from one to another how different they are from year to year. And it's quite a place. I recommend everybody goes down there and sees that.
Why don't you
growth.
tell them exactly where Cavalier Park is for those people who are new to the city?
If you go down South Maple Avenue from
Right.
Broad Street, past the 2 bowling alleys that are currently there,
Right.
and at the end of that, just before you come into South Washington Street, there's a little parking lot there, and there's no sign anymore that says Cavalier Trail Park, but you pull in that parking lot just before you get to South Washington Street, and then on the other side of the stream, there's a number of groves, what we call the Upper Grove and the
Right.
Lower Grove, and they can see quite a few. Now, there's other kinds of trees down there, so they have to look at this show so they can identify a yellowwood. So if you were going to identify a yellowwood, what would you look for? Help them out on what do they look for?
Well, they look for a compound leaf, meaning it has many little leaflets on it. It's
Okay.
alternately leaf, so that it's one leaf, next leaf, this leaf, next leaf, next leaf. It's pinnate, which means it has little pin edges on it.
Oh, okay.
Little like toothed edges.
Right.
It is sort of a medium to light green, I think, compared to a lot of other trees. It's very green, but it's not a deep, deep green in color. And the bark is very silvery, and it's very vase-shaped. In other words, there's multiple trunks in many cases, and they recommend when they're young trees that they be pruned so that they don't have cross branches, you know, really keeping an eye on that because they are sort of shrub-like when they first get started.
So if you see it's a short trunk,
Right.
and then all of a sudden it splits up into about 5 or
More,
8,
yeah.
branches that just jump right out. And it
Exactly.
forms a beautiful canopy. If you walk under it, you feel like you're like under a porch.
Yeah, you could have
you know?
a family reunion under the big ones.
Exactly,
Yeah. And
exactly.
nice shade.
Now, most of the ones I've seen grow up to about 20 feet, but you said you've seen them taller?
Yeah, I have one that's about 30 feet. It was planted probably, let's see, about 20 years ago. And I had a lot of, I believe in fertile ground, so I put
Right.
a lot of, nutrients in the
Okay.
soil then. And the caliper on the trunk is probably about 12 inches across, 12 to
Okay.
15 inches now. It's really grown well. And I think that a lot of it depends on how much competition there is around them.
Right.
They are known for allowing vegetation to really do well underneath of them, which is unusual for a lot of trees. They, because they are a legume, they set nitrogen in the soil, which means that they help really provide nutrients for the others by the fact that they're a legume plant.
So in August, the legumes come out. They look like
Right,
bean pods,
right.
and so that is the legume. And so, and then I guess the flower comes out in May.
Right, May, June. Sometimes it depends on our summer, but we've had
Sure.
that sort of strange
Yeah,
spring
it's
this year.
very strange.
Yeah.
And so the ones in Cavalier Park were planted almost 10 years ago in the worst possible soil. You can imagine they're still
remember,
doing great.
yes.
Yeah, we had to use picks to get
Yeah,
into that.
exactly.
And they are doing great, actually. And now there's an interesting story that we were talking about on how this was discovered by
That's right.
André Michaud back in French botanist back in 1796. He was riding his horse through Tennessee, and he discovered a lot of plants. And it was in February, and it was a rainy day like this, and raging creek right around him. And he saw this one tree which had this split trunk, like we're talking about, and it didn't have any leaves on it. And he recognized how great a tree this was, and he took the roots, some root clippings, and some he cut off some saplings also, and sent them back to Queen Marie Antoinette. And she lost them. And the poor guy never found another yellowwood. And he died, and then his son came back looking for him, and Francois found it, and then that's why we have all these yellowwoods, because they're actually quite rare in the wild. And you generally won't find them in the wild around Falls Church.
Right. I discovered them years ago. A friend of mine who was a nurseryman, it was his favorite tree. And I bought a bunch of whips, which are just little sticks like
Right.
you get, and I put them in the ground. And they're not very vigorous when they first start out, so you really do sort of have to leave them alone, and then
Right.
they seem to do fine. But they're a wonderful tree.
Well, they're called yellowwood because of the wood, and they used to make a yellow dye. They'd
Right.
take the roots primarily and chip them up with an axe, and then they would boil it.
Right, and make a tea too.
They make a tea. I didn't know that.
A tonic, yeah.
Whoa, that's scary.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I don't know if I recommend
Back in the
that.
old days, they did a lot of it makes a nice salve for the skin. Evidently,
Okay.
it's sort of a tonic for the skin.
Oh, okay. Because
like
when you
witch
say
hazel
when you
is.
when you say an internal tonic, that kind of
Oh, no,
scares me.
no.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I don't like anybody to think that don't take it
Yeah,
internally.
please
yes.
don't. But this is a great tree. I really recommend
I
that
love
people.
Cyagrassus, yes.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite trees.
Yeah, it's my top two. That's one of them.
Okay, give it a 5 on the 5 scale.
Yes, ma'am. 5 up. Sir, excuse me.
Whoa,
5.
that was a generic,
yeah,
wasn't it?
Yeah,
Right.
I guess, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Good. Well, yellowwood, Cyagrassus
Lutea.
lutea.
Right.
Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you.
Uncle George used to take me down to Mankin's Notions and Dry Goods, a corner store at Broad in Washington, where the office building is now. She always had candy, which was something we couldn't have at home. It was a great treat for me to go to Mrs. Mankin's store and have those marvelous penny candies. Uncle George used to carry me down to the store and get them for me. Mother didn't approve, but he did it just the same. I enjoyed it.
Hi, my name is Mike Diener with Diener & Associates Certified Public Accountants, and today we're at Caffeine's, which is located at 709 West Broad Street. Hi,
how you doing
I'm
today?
Mike.
Marcos.
Hey, Marcus.
Caffeine, how are you?
Nice place.
Thank you very much.
Can you tell me something about it? How
Sure.
long have you been open?
We've been open since March 30th, almost 2 months now.
This is great.
Thank you very
This
much.
is great. What are your hours?
We're open right now every day from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week.
And what kind of things do you have?
We have a variety. We like to say we're kind of like a European cafe. We have a variety of everything. We're a combination of a coffee bar, a European coffee bar, in which, though, we serve everything in our real ceramic cups here. We like to get people here to sit down at the table, etc. Then we have an assortment of fresh pastries that are delivered daily. We also have some really good empanadas that are served with my uncle's chimichurri sauce. It's a Don Tango's chimichurri sauce from Argentina. It's very nice.
And this is your uncle's sauce?
Yeah, he bottles it. Actually, he's from here, and he bottles it out in Sterling. Then we also have the grilled panini sandwiches that we grill European style on our Panabella grill. And then we have the fresh baguette sandwiches.
Wow.
Those are our lunch side menu.
This place looks fantastic. How
Thank
long
you.
did it take you to get set up?
Full construction was probably a good 4 months to get everything the way we like it. So,
And now you say you open at 7 a.m.?
yes, sir. We're here as
What-
of 7 a.m. to 10.
What kind of customers you get at that early hour?
We get a lot of the local traffic, people either going to work or people actually coming from another area that come into work in this area. That is actually the hardest clientele to develop. That's because of street traffic. We haven't gotten our real sign out on the building yet. We have a sign that's coming on the front of the building that is just like our caffeine sign.
It's a beautiful sign.
Thank you
Good
very
logo.
much. Thank you. We have a tremendous after-school crowd. We get all the kids from George Mason, Thomas Jefferson, so it's great because we have sporadic. Some kids get out at 2, then we have a 3 crowd, then we have a 4 crowd, and they all come in for either coffee or ice cream. But we try to promote a local hangout for kids. In fact, in the Washington Post today, they had a big article on how coffee bars are the new hangout for young adults. So we have DJs on Friday nights for young adults and stuff here.
That's great. Well, and I noticed that to get the CD Cellar now, you come through, you guys share the same entrance.
Exactly. The owner of the CD Cellar is my co-owner up here. And all our promotion stuff, we're 2 separate businesses, but we do all our promotions together. So, in fact, our punch cards here, our value cards, is actually caffeine on one side, CD Cellar on the other. And for us, you buy 10 drinks, you get 1 free. And there's the same thing on CDs.
I bet you he doesn't open up at 7 in the morning.
No, he's actually has different hours right now, which will be changing on us also. He right now is open from 10 to 6 Monday through Fridays. I'm sorry, 10 to 9 Monday through Fridays, 11 to 6 on Saturdays, and then he's open, I believe, from 12 to 6 on Sundays. But he will be changing his hours a little bit to make them very similar.
I'm sure you get a lot of older people too.
Yeah, we get that's what's really good. We get a real diverse crowd here from young, from kids who love the ice cream and stuff, to actually older adults who like to come in and sit down. They like the feel and the atmosphere in here where they can come in and actually have a drink in a real glass and sit down, and they're not in a rush to run into a place and then run out.
So how'd you come up with that? I mean, how did you get this all going?
I actually helped open some of the coffee bars for Nordstrom's. I worked for Nordstrom's for a while in their cafes during the time that I was developing my catering company. I own a catering company called Traveling Bean, the Espresso Catering Company. I design cappuccino bars for corporate trade shows and special events all over the United States. So I had been doing some other bars. I also did some consultation, opening up bars for other investors and stuff, but I never had the opportunity of having a good investor enough to open one for myself that wanted to do it the way that we wanted to until I met Dave Geist at the CD Cellar. So we kind of put our heads together. I have a European influence. I was born in Brazil. My family lives in Portugal now. And Dave grew up in the Middle East, so we kind of put our ideas together and
Good mix.
bring you caffeine. I'm going to make you one of my specialties today, which is called the Milky Way Frio. What it is, it's one of our frozen specialties. It's a little touch of chocolate, caramel, and vanilla. And actually, we make our frozen drinks here with actually a touch of ice cream. We can either make it with regular ice cream, or we can make it low fat for you with the vanilla yogurt.
No low fat.
Okay.
What do these young people wear the most of?
I'll tell you, our 3 specialties are, Milky Way latte is kind of our house specialty here. The dulce de leche is like a cream caramel condensed milk. It's like a South American drink. It's very nice. And the white chocolate mocha seems to be the favorite among everybody. There you go.
Oh, that looks excellent.
Milky Way latte.
Gotta give it a try here. Yeah, that hits the spot.
You got it. And we also do, by the way, have regular and decaf espresso here. You know, we have a lot of stuff. The drinks that seem to be the most popular for the young adults here are our smoothies. We do a variety of different fresh fruit smoothies. We have about 8 different flavors. We do the fruit freeze, which is just the product with ice and water. And we also have the smoothie and the low-fat smoothie.
Well, this is great, and I see you have a whole array of lunch meals for the lunch crowd.
You got it.
And that's part of your catering company that provides that?
Well, actually, no. I have independent vendors here. My catering company, I don't cater food. I just strictly do espresso cappuccino bars and stuff. If you have an office party or something where you would like to have sandwiches and stuff, I will go ahead and provide them for you. But my caterers that I work for are kind of the people who sell me, so I don't step on their toes by doing food and stuff.
Right.
But if you were having an office party at your house, or you're doing something at your business, and you just wanted some fresh bagels or assorted pastries or empanadas, we'd be more than happy to bring it out for you. We're also a full-service ice cream bar. We get our ice cream from Lee's Ice Cream out of Baltimore, Maryland. They're a great company I've worked for about 10 years now. And what they do is not only is the ice cream very good and very rich, but they also make ice creams for each individual vendor. So, for example, go ahead. So, for example, I'll let you try. This is the Arbuckle's Delight. That's a little bit. That's white chocolate with fudge mixed in it.
Now, how does it get its name? You probably don't know, do you?
Nah, actually, I know that people come. They said it was named after Fatty Arbuckle.
Now, which one's this?
That is the butter pecan. That is our regular chocolate ice cream. That is our coffee ice cream, which is actually made with our fresh brewed coffee here.
Forget wine tasting. This is the way to go.
This is the cookie dough.
It's hard to keep up with you.
Oh yeah, I hear you. This right here is the Death by Chocolate. This is our Heath Bar Crunch. This is our Kahlua Fudge Swirl. That is our mint chocolate chip. This is good old Mom's apple pie. This is our mud pie. That's our Oreo ice cream. This is our peanut butter blitz. That's our pistachio ice cream. Pralines with cream. Rocky Road.
More?
That's our strawberry ice cream. That's our strawberry cheesecake. It's our traditional vanilla. Then we get into our yogurts. We have a double chocolate yogurt. We have our coffee fudge swirl.
I'm getting quite full here.
Then we have our sherbets and our sorbets. We have an orange sherbet and our red raspberry sorbet. And last but not least, I'm going to make you one of our flavor bursts. So our flavor burst is a new system out that is actually very new. What it does is it combines a flavor onto the outside twist of our soft serve. We carry our soft serve ice cream, which is a vanilla, chocolate, and swirl. And then we also have 8 varieties of our flavor bursts. Which is your favorite?
Wow. I'll go with black cherry.
Black cherry. Go right here for you.
Oh, wow.
There you go. Woo! Haha.
Who needs lunch?
Now, along with all our soft serve ice cream, we also have a variety of milkshakes, floats. We also have like the fresh fruit smoothies that we had talked about. What's good about our fresh fruit smoothies is they are energy drinks. They are a jet tea base. It's a green tea with a combination of any one of the 9 different flavors that we have.
Well, this is great. This is great. Well, thank you for taking time out today.
My pleasure. It's been my pleasure.
I loved going to the village. Everybody knew everybody. I would say, "Hello, Mrs. Brown," or "Hello, Mr. Hawkshurst," and they would all know me and my kin.
We're here with Mr. John Jackson, one of the most famous blues musicians in the world, and definitely the most famous of the Piedmont blues musicians. And Mr. Jackson, your fame in Falls Church transcends being a world-famous musician. You're our community-famous gravedigger.
Yes, that's right. I started digging graves in September of 1954 here in Oakwood Cemetery, and of course I did go around the Falls Church in Fairfax County, maybe.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
Oakwood Cemetery. Now that was quite different.
It's most different, because Coon Ford wasn't known. Back then they had a huge big arch with iron gates and a blacktop road that came through right where Mr. Coon Ford is now.
So the Oakwood Cemetery actually owned that where the Ford and Dodge place is.
Absolutely was.
And they had that big arch. Now that was, somebody told me, maybe you did, that was built by Joseph Tinner. It was a granite arch with iron.
That's right. I have no idea, who built it, anything
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
but
Joseph
I know
Tinner.
it was,
Yeah.
certainly was though.
Yeah.
It was.
Well, tell me about when you how did you dig a grave in 1954?
By hand with a pick and shovel.
Even in the winter?
Oh, yes, indeed. If the ground was froze so bad you couldn't dig in it, I'd take an axe and cut the top off and cut through the frozen ground and get that out of the way, and then I'll just go and dig it.
Now that area was the first Methodist church in the area, Fairfax Chapel, and it's been used as a graveyard for centuries. And there also was where an encampment was during Civil War. Do you find anything interesting in the ground when you
I
dig?
have found quite a few mini balls in over the years digging in now.
Now, does that mean Civil War or
Oh,
Revolutionary War?
absolutely.
What does that mean?
Civil War.
Civil War.
Yes, I found lots and lots of mini balls in now. But you hardly find anything in the mud.
Oh, I see.
I used to find lots and lots of mini balls, but haven't found anything.
Coins or anything
I
like that?
have found coins in there. I found one big 1-cent piece, and I found one 1853 half dime, and then lots of pennies and nickels and dimes and new money. It's
Okay,
not real old on those.
So what's it like digging in this ground? Is it a hard clay, or do you find?
No, it's not hard clay. It's real good soft digging up behind places, and then you hit a little hard pan some places, and sometimes you hit a little bit of rock, but very little.
Okay,
And,
that's high ground up there.
It is real nice ground in places, some much better than other. But I have never hit no real hard clay anywhere in so far.
What about some of the other graveyards in Falls Church? Now you said that you did the Falls Church Episcopal. Tell me about that.
Only one right down
Right.
there. That's real nice digging in now. Now, long as I've been digging, I only dug 2 graves in that cemetery low. And I had no idea who the people were, but I dug them by hand, and I had no trouble digging them up. I didn't hit any rock, anything like that.
that was in the 50s or?
It was about 1954, I believe we had one, and Alamo may have been in the 60s that we had done. Mr. Pearson Funeral Home had both lows. Mr. Pearson was the only one around here now.
Interesting. Now you said St. James Cemetery up on
Oh,
a
that's
graveyard.
awful hard digging in now. Now you hit bank gravel and some real hard clay in now. You get the top off about 1.5 or 2 feet, and then you hit that real hard pan. And you have to have a good sharp pick to get through it.
Do you have to charge a different price considering where the
No,
graveyard
sir.
is? Same price
We
anywhere.
get the same price for one you do for the other.
Now, another graveyard that I talked to you about was the Galloway United Methodist Church up on Annandale. Right up here where you found the pipe.
Yes, and the mini balls and less you hit rock and now, but it ain't tight rock.
Okay.
Now you hit rock and now, but you can work with it because it's not real tight rock.
I see.
And its hair's good there. It's real red looking sorrel in now. But you can dig it. I never had too much trouble digging in now.
And then there's the Second Baptist Church just off Annandale
Yeah,
also.
that's right. But less good digging in now. It's good soft ground in now. It's no hard pan.
Now, those are all very old graveyards. Those are not new graveyards. People have been
they
buried
go
there
near
for,
back. You're right.
for well over 100 years.
Yes.
Well over 100, if not 150 years. Now, You told me a story once about finding when you were digging, finding it was a brewery, an old brewery, and that was near the Second Baptist Church?
It is, just going up before you get to the Baptist Church, while that second new house is built on the left going up.
Right.
It was, you never saw such a pit. They said it was an old brewery a lot of years ago, and that's where all the people dumped all the bottles and trash and now.
So you got some of those?
I got some of the bottles, but it was one fellow named Gene Byers. He come on and just got baskets and tubs full of them out of low.
How old do you think those bottles were?
All the bottles was at least 100 years old or something, because some of the cans had 1858 on them, you know, blue mason jars. It was lots of them found and not what wasn't broken up. And some of the bottles, the drink bottles, like a Coca-Cola, some kind of, even had a marble down in some of them. Some of them even had marbles down them. They was real old. Some had Baltimore written on them. Some had Alexandria, Virginia. Some had Washington, D.C. I mean, New Jersey, you name it.
It was Church on it?
I don't remember what it was in it with Falls Church. It could have had been. It could very well could have been. I didn't, look at all the names on them. I did some Civil War hunting when they tore down that big brick house while those two new apartments went in. That's been 10 years or more ago. And then, they moved the house right up on the main street from mine. And we found some mini balls and a bunch of stuff in there, some eagle buttons and all in there from the Civil War. And which I wasn't digging graves or anything, we was just looking for the metal detect.
Right.
And that's about all the digging I did around here, other than while they building that big office across from Mr. Pearson Funeral Home. I found the eagle breastplate there, and a few mini balls, and that was it.
Well, Mr. Jackson, you're a highly sought-after musician. You travel the entire world performing at big events and, in the United States and all over the world. How do you juggle this with owning a grave digging business?
Well, it both worked very good. When I wasn't playing music, I'd be digging graves when it was one to dig. And when I wasn't playing music or grave digging, I always had something else to do, some kind of odd job or something to do.
Are you the only performing, well-known blues musician you know that's a grave digger?
Well, somebody said Tom T. Hall was a grave digger. I don't know. It's another fella who I played with sometime was Undertaker. And his name is Eddie Pennington from Kentucky. And I met him through by playing music. And he's the only Undertaker I know was in the band.
Well, I have a couple of your CDs here, and on one of them, it's called John Jackson, Don't Let Your Deal Go Down. There's a song called Graveyard Blues, and I was wondering if we could end this segment. You have your John Jackson, very own John Jackson guitar with you. And I guess it's okay to go ahead and tune it. And could you give us a little rendition of Graveyard Blues? It's on
Sure, I'd be
Don't
glad
Let
to.
Your Deal Go Down?
I'm gonna start a graveyard of my own. That Batman don't leave my gal alone. My razor's got a rusty blade. Lay that man right in the shade. I'm gonna start a graveyard of my own. I went down to the barroom door the other night. And I walked in the door and I noticed this big bad man standing on the floor looking all bad. So I walked up and I said to him, I'm around here, down here. I ain't good looking, but I'm around here. Ain't nobody gonna drive me away. I'm not bad. I'm gonna start a graveyard of my own. That bad man don't leave my gal alone. My razor's got a rusty blade. Lay that man right in the shade. I'm gonna start a graveyard of my own. I went back downtown feeling both quiet. I met that ugly scamp down there messing with my wife. I with my razor and I hit him a crack on his overcoat. His shoes made a noise, said, you can have the coat, but I declare I got to go. I'm gonna start a graveyard of my own. That Batman don't leave my gal alone. My razor got a rusty blade, lay that man right in the shade. I'm gonna start a graveyard of my own. I went down to my gal's house, so, and I knocked on the door. And about that time, that Doug Henry come running out of low, huh? He asked me, he said, what you want, have ye, huh? I come down here to see my gal, sir, who? Your gal? Well, you see who is playing the cards, yeah, huh? I'm gonna start a graveyard of my own. That Batman don't leave my gal alone. My razor's got a rusty blade, lay that man right in the shade. I'm gonna start a graveyard of my own. Graveyard blues, what do they call it?
I heard music everywhere in town. A lot of folks had pianos and other instruments in their homes, and I could just walk up and down the street and hear people playing pianos and violins and singing. Some fellows were always sitting on the front steps of the stores down by the crossroads playing harmonica. Of course, there was music at church on Sundays and Wednesdays. A band always played at town picnics. One of my favorite things was dances at the Oddfellows Hall.
There really is music everywhere in Falls Church City. Today we're at Fox's Music and we're interviewing Andrew Acosta. How are you, Andrew?
Fine, thank you.
Yeah. Andrew's a lifelong resident of the city and went to school in the area, and we'll discuss more of that.
Oh, let it rain, let it pour, let it rain a whole lot more, 'cause I got those deep river blues. Let the rain come on down, let the wind sweep the ground, 'cause I got those deep river blues.
All right. Andrew Acosta, ladies and gentlemen. He's with the new Old Time Pickers, Falls Church City. How are you doing, Andrew?
Very fine, thanks for having me here.
Good to see you. Good to see you. The new Old Time Pickers is a bluegrass band. If you didn't see that, hear that. How'd you start? Tell us about your background. What school did you go to?
Well, I grew up here in Falls Church City. I went to Madison High School, which is no longer here, and lived right on Maple Avenue, just a couple blocks from the store here. And then on James Thurber Court, went to George Mason High School, graduated in 1971. About 13, 14 years old, I guess, when the Beatles and the whole thing hit in the early 60s, and quit playing basketball and started playing the guitar.
Wow.
Pretty much, and that's I've been playing ever since. Really enjoy it and have learned a lot, met a lot of good people, and it's just helped me make a lot of friends. And
Well, you know, Virginia is kind of a hotbed for bluegrass, and there's certainly a lot of stars in this area, including yourself. Tell us some of your heroes. How did you really get started?
well, really, it's ironic in that when I started my first band in about 1974, and we wanted to play professionally or play in the clubs, we went to the Annandale Grill in just down the road, and we talked to Benny and Valley Kane, and they had the premier bluegrass band in the area. They had been playing for many years, even then, you know, starting in the 50s. They were originally from Berkeley Springs, West Virginia, but they lived in Falls Church right off of West Street. And their son was a friend of ours, and we went to see Benny and Valley, and we asked them who to talk to about playing at the Annandale Grill. And they, both Benny and Valley, helped us to get our first job. And it began really a long friendship I had with both their son, Paul, and with Benny and Valley.
How did you get into, how did you actually start playing the guitar? Did you teach yourself? Did you have an instructor?
Well, I come from a pretty large family. You know, there was 5 of us. And my dad came home one day with a folk guitar for my older sister.
Right.
And then my older brother picked it up and began playing it. So it was just something that was in the house, you know, from the time I was about 10 years old. And he played in bands in high school, and there was always equipment and guitars around, and I just...
Is this one of the original ones?
No, this is one that Benny left me. And this is a 1935 Martin 00028. Benny was a collector, and back when they were more available and cheap, you know, less expensive. And as I got to know him, and as he was the last remaining member of his family, and I helped. Well, one thing I helped with Benny, and this is something that Falls Church people would probably remember. About 4 years ago, I had Benny sit in with me while I was playing in the concert in the park.
Wow.
And that was his last public performance. So he, you know, he helped me, and I was lucky enough to help him to keep playing even towards the end of his life. And he left me this and the mandolin that I'll show you in a few minutes.
Well,
as well.
wait a minute. Let's talk about the summer concerts. I know you're going to perform this year on July 12th, the Old Time Pickers, the new Old Time Pickers with Andrew Acosta.
Yes, we're going to be doing that, and we'll be playing some songs off our CD, which we recorded on Park Avenue at Q Studios. I mean, it's just a local phenomenon, the whole thing, and that I just knew that Q had a good studio there, and that we were ready to record a CD, and we had a 82-year-old fiddle player from Westover area of Arlington, Speedy Tolliver, who I had met a couple years ago, and we just went in there, and I'm really happy with the results.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about. The audience should remember there's the 7 performances at the summer concert starting on June 21, including the Airmen of Note, Miles Mingus and the Monk. I won't go on with that. We're getting ahead of ourselves. I want to see your other vintage instrument here.
Okay, well...
By the way, we're a Martin dealer at Fox's Music Store.
Yeah, and I spend many happy hours in here. I also was in here just a couple years ago when I overheard a conversation about a lady asking about, did you buy, you know, vintage or old instruments, and fortunately she was given some good information by the clerk, but I talked to her and bought my first Gibson mandolin from her, and that was about a 1916 A4. This one I'm holding is a 1906, started out life as a 1906 F2 that Benny did some customizing on. And he had Joe Wallow, a craftsman in Arlington, put a new neck on it. And Benny did this inlay. Mm-hmm. And This is just a treasure that, I mean, it's really a one-of-a-kind instrument.
Let's hear it.
So what I'll play on this is a song that I just wrote recently for this movie that is going to be coming on.
The 4 Mile Run, which is
That's
produced,
right, that's right. Now we did a little intro on it. That's the water trickling through the 4 Mile Run.
All right.
As a child, we had fun down on the banks of the 4 Mile Run, playing on the banks of the 4 Mile Run. Run 4 mile, run 4 mile, run 4 mile, run. Run 4 mile, run 4 mile, run 4 mile, run. Well, I hope my daughters and my son can take their kids down the 4 Mile Run, play on the banks of the 4 Mile Run.
Andrew
Run 4
Acosta.
mile, run 4 mile, run 4 mile, run.
Andrew Acosta, the new Old Time Pickers. His CD is available at Fox's Music and elsewhere, and we're looking forward to the movie that's being produced on the 4 Mile Run.
Okay, well, I hope it comes out good.
I know it will. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Take care.
Sometimes I would walk to and from the village along the roads, but I loved to walk the trails and alleys behind houses, through fields and woods. It just seemed more special.
I'm standing by one of the more popular trails in Falls Church where people literally do walk home from various parts of Falls Church and the metro. We're over on South Oak Street, just below Thomas Jefferson Elementary School, where Trips Run comes out of a pipe. It's been in a pipe for almost a mile, and it comes out into a cement channel, which we've been allowing to overgrow so that we can improve the water quality a little bit. But let's walk up the trail and see where it leads. Okay, as we come from Trips Run, we come to the fire hydrant and take a right-hand turn and walk under the white pine tree. Some of us will have to duck a little bit. And we're going to come to a little white sign here that was just put in July of year 2000. And let's stop and look at this for a minute. This is what describes this whole area as the Trips Run Rain Gardens. These rain gardens were put in 1998 and 1999, a combination of the Thomas Jefferson Ecology Club, the Village Preservation Improvement Society, and some community service workers from the high school. Let me read the sign. Describes that rain gardens are designed to absorb and filter stormwater. In the Trips Run Rain Gardens, grass-covered clay has been replaced with native shrubs planted in a bed of highly absorbent soils. Rather than allowing rainwater to wash directly into the stream, the rain garden soil absorbs the water and the plants remove the pollutants and releases pure water into the air through their leaves, as illustrated above. In addition, the plants produce berries for birds and beauty for passers-by. Rain gardens are perfect for managing stormwater on any property. Now, this sign was made, and one of the rain gardens was made by Stephen Brandon for his Eagle Scout project. There are approximately 10 of the rain gardens here. We chose this. This is a special place because water flows down from the hill here at Mount Hope down across the floodplain. Some of the houses are still in the floodplain and flows directly into Trips Run and floods downstream. So these rain gardens help control the flooding, and we'll look at this as we go up. But this is something that could be on any property. It's really neat, and recommend everybody come down and look at these simple techniques for controlling rainwater. You can control it from going into your house, like the basement, or into the street, or areas you don't want it to, and then also benefit groundwater and nature in general. So let's go up and look at this. It's a combination of work of a lot of kids and some adults too, and see what else we planted along here. Well, the first rain garden we come to is just beyond the sign, but before the first rain garden is the sycamore tree that we planted in 1994. A nursery called Nature Earth on Tinner Hill on South Washington Street was going out of business, and I believe it was the spring of '94. And they couldn't get rid of their sycamores, and they gave us some sycamores and some pin oaks, and we got them planted. And I'll point them out as we go along. And 6 years later, now they're starting to come along. They're planted in horrible soil here, and that's what we discovered. It's all fill material in a former swamp, and so a few years later, we realized the best management practice here for stormwater control was called rain gardens. We discovered this, I think it was started in England, I believe. But what you do is where the water is flowing down from the hill, in this case Mount Hope, and it goes into the floodplain, normally it'd flow right into the stream and flood downstream also. We made a little catch area. We dug down 4 feet into this hard packed clay, and took the clay out of this rectangular area, and we built a berm all the way around in a horseshoe fashion to catch the water. Then we replaced it with a highly absorbent soil of organic material, placed it in. So Jimmy Bouchow and I did this, and all the organic material sucks in the water like a sponge. It's better than a sponge, actually. And then we planted some native Virginia swamp plants that are highly water absorbent and transpire the water out. And these are called Arrowwood viburnum. Its a technical name is Viburnum dentatum. And they have a beautiful white flower. It's already past prime on those. They had those, I think, early June. And the berries are just about to come out. A couple of the ones up above have a purple berry. These haven't turned yet, for the most part. But anyway, when the water rushes down here, it catches it here, absorbs in, and transpires out. And it's a great system. It's a very natural system, and it prevents the flooding downstream that we're having when we put enough of these in. And we've got a lot of them here now. So let's go on up, look at some more of them, and some of the pin oaks. Here's a pin oak right next to it that we planted in '94. These are also Arrowwood viburnums. And some of these are starting to get some berries that are coming into maturity here. But this is an example of a very long one, a very large, long rain garden. And this was dug primarily by a local Cub Scout troop, and I wish I could remember their number so I could give them some honor here, but I can't remember. But they dug all of this, and this was a huge job, and our parents also worked hard. And notice in the back we also put some and we had all the way along here is erosion and sediment control fence, because when we dug this, we didn't want any soil to be washed into the stream. So again, the Cub Scout troop and their parents dug down about 4 feet and piled all the hard packed clay around the outside. And then we moved in the highly absorbent soil and then planted again. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Arrowwood viburnums. Now these are going to grow up to be about 10 feet tall, and these will all grow together like a huge hedge. And it'll really absorb, the capacity to absorb a lot of water is phenomenal in here, and it transpired out once these grow. And by about the year 2002, these should be huge. On the berm, we put a lot of wood chips. We had tree company deliver, including the city, some extra wood chips, and we just cartload after cartload put it on top here to prevent any soil erosion, and especially into the stream.
One of the most interesting things to me is that right in the middle of Falls Church, right in the middle of one of the fastest urbanizing areas anywhere, we have magnificent old houses and trees, beautiful music still in homes and on the streets, marvelous places to gather, and trails to return home on. It makes me wonder why these wonderful qualities of village life remain here in Falls Church.